Hello, welcome. I'm glad that you're with us for our final discussion. Thomas is joining me again today. He wanted to say goodbye for the end of the semester. And I also we were going to talk for our final discussion about probably something that's the most important, which is, what types of things should I do to both get the job of my dreams and also keep it. And obviously it's an ongoing discussion, but I wanted to give a few pointers, and I look forward to helping you through that in our final week discussion and assignment together. So without further ado, I was going to have Thomas say goodbye to you as well, and also tell you a couple crazy things from our spring break trip. He wanted to share a couple things.
Yeah.
So here's Thomas.
So during our spring break, we went on a cruise. And we went to 4 different places. Belize. Grand Cayman. Somewhere in Mexico.
Cozumel.
Yeah, Cozumel and Honduras. And we had one excursion for each place. So basically on the boat, we basically just hanged out. We also saw comedy shows and stuff like that. There was a pool and a water slide. So on our first place, which was Grand Cayman, we went snorkeling and we saw a sunken ship.
And this was the one that he wanted to share a little bit about before we got to our discussion.
So we also snorkeled by a coral reef and we saw this really creepy fish. You're about to see it.
You want to give a countdown?
3, 2, 1.
1 sec here. There it is.
Right there.
Right here. What's the real name? Do you remember the name?
A blue parrotfish.
Yes, and tell them about it.
So basically, it's this blue fish that is like, and it smiles. Then in our second...
Well, we probably can't share all of our trip, but it freaked you out, right? It was kind of freaky looking because it looked like it had big teeth, and it looked like it was going to smile at us or eat us or talk to us or something, huh?
I don't know. It
Can
actually
you
looked like
one other quick thing, and then I should do our lecture?
I'll just tell them the 4 other things, but really quick. 3. On our second place, we saw monkeys. Then our third place, we went cave tubing, like we tubed around in a cave. Then our fourth place...
Started with an M.
Mayan ruins. And also, I jumped off a giant cliff at least 10 feet high. Maybe 20. But into the water. So don't worry, I didn't break my bones or anything. No, nothing like that.
So this guy wants to be a teacher when he grows up. I think I shared that before. He's now 7. So he's toward the very end. Remember, early childhood, we count through 3rd grade.
7.
And a lot of times we talk about through 8. But as you can see, they get quite different than a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old by the time they move up to this age. And so he was happy to join us for our last discussion. All right, so he's going to listen in for a moment. Let me give you just a few pointers. So you're doing a what I learned in class, a brief paper review, and what you're taking with you forward in the future. Part of that I mentioned as optional was if you want to take a stab at a new resume focused especially on early childhood, or if you have one that you want me to review and give you a couple pointers. It's not required as part of that, but you're welcome to put that in with your paper, and I'm more than happy to give you a few pointers. I really love helping students with things like that, so I look forward to working with you on that if you have interest there. So the things I wanted to touch on related to writing a resume, remember, there's a few things. A lot of times people say, only 1 page. Don't do any more than 1 page. That's really not true when it comes to education. When you're looking at higher education, like working in a college or a university, for instance, kind of the more the better. So when I list all of my presentations and my experience over the years, it's like 12, 15, 20 pages long. So that's more of a university level kind of professor type of way to do your resume. But teaching in general, don't be afraid of 2 or 3 or 4 pages. A few of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, I have zero experience at all. Well, I promise you, you have some still. And so things like listing courses taken, including this one, listing related experience. So that could include babysitting, but I would call it childcare, or I would call it nannying versus babysitter. Free experience, things like working as a Sunday school teacher, classes like CPR, first aid. If you speak more than one language and if you speak Spanish, be sure to list that. That is awesome. It's amazing, and I look for those types of experiences as well. So think broader and think of anything that if you need to kind of wordsmith or play with the words there, feel free. But you want to highlight things that look extra strong. So for instance, I'm just going to give you an example here. I'm not going to show you mine because that looks quite different, but let's just pretend here. I would typically center, I'm going to actually go to another page so that you can see. Okay. I'm going to center my name. I'm going to list my address. I'm going to list my email. Make sure that it's a professional email. So not, cutesy pie or anything like that, but make sure it's more of a Gmail, a first and last name, and your phone number. You thought that was funny? A lot of times I would list my objective, and so that might be obtain a position as an early childhood teacher, education teacher at, and list the school if you know that. Otherwise, you can take the objective off. Next, think about experience or related experience. Start with most recent. You don't have to list if it's full-time or part-time. You can list volunteer work as well. So let's pretend I was only part-time, but maybe it was 2017 through present. I could list teacher, preschool, and the name of the school, right? And then I might list a title like duties. And so that might be lesson plans, daily progress monitoring, things like that, okay? And then I might say maybe in 2016, no, let's say 2015 to 2016, I was a Sunday school teacher. So again, it doesn't matter if you did it all the time or once a month, but I'm going to list again my duties. So that might be preparing and delivering lessons, conferencing with parents. Of course, I'm just making things up now, but it gives you an idea, okay? I might list, whoops, I'll try to move this up, related skills. Notice how I have these headings. So that I might list Spanish proficiency if I'm, and I might say in speaking and writing if that's the case. I might list CPR, first aid. If you have a degree, you might want to put that here, or education. Don't list when you graduated high school because to a large degree it's irrelevant. And so you don't want your age to be a factor. If your first post-high school experience is Front Range Community College, then list that, okay? If you have a great GPA, like a 3.5 or higher, list that, and I might list my GPA if it's a 3.5 or higher. Otherwise, I'm just going to not list it, okay? Whoops. Sorry, you get the idea here. You can list your references. If you're going to list anyone as a reference, make sure that they know. So if that could be myself, that could be your instructors, that could be former employers, that could be former volunteer supervisors as well. Typically, you're not going to list family or friends, okay? So it's people that can speak to your professional skills. Make sure that they have a heads up. So call a teacher or a former or a current employer and say, you know, I'm applying or I'm looking at applying soon to some positions. I wonder if you would be willing to be a strong reference for me. That's going to be really key. And give them a heads up. So that's a bit on writing resumes. I hope that helps a little bit. The other things I was going to talk about more briefly Interview tips. So making sure that you're dressing professionally. It can be business casual. I'm a pretty casual person, but making sure you're not wearing jeans, tattered tennis shoes, that you're right, you're well presented, your hair's brushed, things like that. Questions that people like to ask would be, why are you interested in this job? Make sure you have a reason, and a good reason. Practice these things ahead of time. What do you think your greatest strengths are? What are some areas of weakness or struggle? They'll give scenarios a lot of times. How do you handle discipline for children? So think back to the things that you've learned in classes. They might ask what your philosophy is, or what your opinion is on how to successfully educate early childhood students. So those are practice those questions ahead of time, write out your answers ahead of time, and it might feel funny, but practice that with your friends. Practice a good firm handshake. It is awesome, and most people don't do it anymore. Write a little thank you note. You certainly pop off an email to whoever interviewed you shortly after, but better still, write an old-fashioned thank you note, and they will be amazed, because it doesn't happen often anymore. And then last, remember, I know we all want a job. It's exciting, but know that there's a shortage, and you're in demand, and you have skills, and you're a great asset as well. So you're also interviewing them. Get a feel for if they seem friendly and excited about you, and there's a good energy or feel in there, or if see if you can walk around and see, do the children look happy? Do the staff look engaged, or do they look kind of frumpy, grumpy? You want to be around people that inspire you to be more and be better. No one's perfect, but people that you want to be more like, not people that you think, oh, I'm not sure, right? They don't seem to be interacting good with the students, if that's something that you can do, if at all possible. Ask about things like turnover, opportunities for professional growth and development, what they feel are the big benefits of working there, and any areas that they want to keep developing. So again, a lot of times we get so excited, we want that job. Ask about salary, and don't be afraid if they offer an amount. Have an amount in your head ahead of time that would be acceptable to you, and don't be afraid to counter what they offer. So if they said $12 an hour, you could say, gosh, are you okay if I get back to you on that? Or I was really hoping for more like 13. Remember that a lot of us, especially women, are not used to, and I can speak for myself as well, advocating for that. And be comfortable doing that, because you're worth it, and because a lot of times you can get more. The worst case scenario is that they say, gosh, I'm sorry, that's as high as we can go right now. That firm handshake and that thank you goes a long way also. And then stay in touch with me. Stay in touch with each other and any contacts you have. A lot of it is about who you know, and the people that you meet along the way, including when you do those site visits and things, for those of you that visited other programs. So it has been a pleasure working with you. I'm teaching 260 this summer, which is the exceptional learner, if any of you are able to join me, and I do hope that we get to meet in person someday as well. Anything you want? We can do a cheer at the end. You remember how to do the roller coaster cheer?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to say thank you and goodbye and roller coaster cheer. Woo! You want to try it again? Woo! Good job. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.